Hi there and welcome to the vlog. I've decided once and for all to finally resurrect this vlog, even though it wasn't really that alive back then or before this. I think at this recording, or as of this recording, I have about 150 subscribers or maybe less than that. I haven't checked, but it's about a little over 100. I decided once and for all to make another go at it and to see if I really can make $1 out of my YouTube content. And I know I need 1,000 subscribers. So let's try and create more content, upload more content, and see if I can hit that goal. I'll be very transparent with everyone, and I hope you join me in this journey in reaching monetization of this channel. So go ahead and like and subscribe or comment. As you know, nowadays, comments are the real currency in social media. The more you comment, the more exposure, the more impressions a creator gets. So please go ahead if you have any questions whatsoever or any comments about the content of this vlog. Go ahead and put it in the comment section. That really helps the channel and reinforces if what we're putting out there is good or not, or if it's helpful or not. And it can also be topics or subjects for future vlogs. So I'll keep everybody posted as of the subscriber count, and then if it does start making money, I'll be completely transparent and share with everyone how much this channel is making. Ultimately, my goal really is, if I could even make something out of this, is to help people out there who definitely need it. Because, you know, just how many watches, how many shoes, how many cars can you really buy with money, right? At some point, you use it to help people. And I really want to do that eventually. So let's get to it. The topic for today is this debate between what's more important, the idea or the execution. I'm sure you've heard this. For myself, I'm part of this startup community in the Philippines, made up mostly of digital marketers and new entrepreneurs in the Philippines. And every now and then, this debate or this question comes up, whether is it the idea or the execution that's important? And really, the short answer is neither of them, or neither of them are as important, or both of them are equally important. That's really the short answer. It's easy for us as humans in general to fall into this dichotomy always, where it's either one or the other. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. In most arguments or in most discussions, outside of anything that's physical, like night and day, liquid and solid, outside of those physical realities, more often than not, the answer is neither, or either are equally important. They go hand in hand. And what exactly do I mean by that? You can have a good idea or a decent idea, but if it's poorly executed, it's dead on the water, right? Or it won't get traction, or it won't scale. If you have a decent enough idea and the execution is really good, it can reach a certain level of success as well, right? So yeah, like I said, we have this tendency to have one or the other, or to pit one against the other, when the reality is somewhere in the middle, where both are equally important, or one cannot exist without the other. We have this thing where there has to be a good, there has to be an evil, or there has to be a protagonist, and there has to be an antagonist for things to work. You're either of this camp or of this other camp to survive in this society. But the truth is, it's not as black and white like most things are. I want to go back to this concept of the idea and the execution, and how important both are. I think the poster boy, the poster child for this really is Instagram. You know, if you look into Instagram's history, initially they wanted it to be like a location-based app, like Foursquare. Remember back in the day when Foursquare was really popular and everybody was checking in and getting badges? Instagram originally wanted to get into that space. But in the midst or even in the latter part of the execution, they realized something or they discovered something, and then they decided to just make it a photo sharing app, and a simpler photo sharing app wherein on that feed you only see one photo at a time. And then they introduced filters where you can have, you know, these different colors or these different effects that you can layer on top of a photo or an image, and thus Instagram was born. But as the initial idea, it was supposed to be a location based app, and as they executed it, somewhere along the way, somewhere in the implementation of that idea, they stumbled onto something that it went a different direction. And that's usually what happens. You know, you have an idea, and the most important thing is that you execute on that idea, or you act on that idea and make it real and make it a physical thing, make it a reality, so that it's not just stuck in your head. In the action of doing that, or in the motion of doing that, you will discover something, both either on the original idea or in the execution, that will bring it to a different direction or a different path, and it becomes a different product or a different app altogether afterwards. And that's what's important. You have an idea, you need to act on it, or you need to execute it, so that you'll know if your idea will stand the rigors of reality, or of the context of reality, and the milieu that it will be in the digging into it and getting into the nuts and bolts of it. You'll bump into things where, oh, this is actually impossible, or this is not realistic, or this is not going to scale, or this is not going to gain any traction. You pivot, or you go into a different direction, or you iterate on it. And that's why it's as important. And the execution is as important as the idea. For those of you who've known me, I've always been an ideas guy. I have plenty of ideas, but back then, I would be limited because I couldn't actually execute or implement it, because I don't know. It's either I don't know how to code, or I'm not a developer. But now that's not an excuse anymore, right? With all these apps that don't need any code, these no-code apps that allow you to execute an idea, and all these website or all these software online that allows you to create a website or create a business. There's no more excuse, right? So when you have an idea, don't let it incubate. Of course, incubation is important, but don't allow that period to be too long where you get stuck in the analysis of it or the overthinking of it. Just go ahead and execute it right away. If you need to find a partner, go ahead and do that. But you will discover that always that initial idea will not be the one in the end. It's not what you had in your head will definitely be different from the final product. That's the importance of executing your idea. Now, having said that, also, an idea is also very important. Having either a good or an excellent or a brilliant idea is very important, because that idea or that insight will determine whether there is a market for it, or if people will adopt your product or your app or your business. So even if it's a poor idea, even if you brilliantly execute it, it won't be successful, because in the beginning it was a poor idea. It wasn't well thought out. It wasn't researched enough. It wasn't for this time. It's interesting. Mark Andreessen had this insight where, the ideas of the 90s or the early .com era, most of them were not bad ideas. They were just at the wrong time, right? I was listening to Morgan Housel's podcast, and he mentioned this, where pets.com is the perfect example of that, where it launched in the 90s, but everyone thought it was ludicrous, and obviously it didn't work out. But now Chewy.com is making billions right now. So it was just at the wrong time. So a good idea is something that will work at this time and not like decades into the future, or worse, decades into the past. Like, oh, it's an old idea. It was a good idea, but its time has already passed. So when in thinking of the idea, it's important that it's something that solves a problem, addresses a problem, provides a solution, and that a large enough number of people actually have that problem, or actually have that problem that needs to be solved. That's the that those are the makings of a good idea, right? So you do need a good idea, because I would argue that a decent enough idea with so-so execution could see the light of day. That could see some results. But a poor idea, if it's even if it's brilliantly implemented or executed, will have a less chance of success or performance. So the idea really is important. But again, an idea without implementation or without execution is just it. That's just an idea. It'll be stuck in your head. Nobody will ever hear about it. Nobody will ever see it until you bring it to life, until you execute it. So they go hand in hand. They are lockstep with each other. So don't think that, oh, the idea is important or the execution is important. They go hand in hand, like a horse and carriage, so to speak. You can't remove one from the other. They are not exclusive. And, sometimes, or actually more often than not, one person comes up with the idea and another person comes up with the execution. That's why a lot of these startups, or a lot of your startups, you do need a partner, because we have a tendency to get stuck in our heads, right? Or we're in love with our idea, or we're in love with how we do things. We're in love with how we execute and implement things. You get trapped in your head. That's why you need a good, solid partner who can tell you, right, whether, oh, this idea will not work. We have to do it a certain way. So you have, if you're the idea guy, or you're the implementation and execution guy or partner, you have to be open to working and collaborating to bring the idea to life. And as I said, you will be pleasantly surprised at what you will discover along the way. Either you scrap the idea altogether, something else comes up, or it gives birth to even something else. It could be a completely different business model, or it could be a completely different idea altogether. So the important thing is in the action, or getting that idea out of your head into paper and into the screen, or into shelves, or into the factory, or into the warehouses. So that's it. That's our episode for today. I hope you enjoyed it. To summarize, what's more important, an idea or the execution? They're both important. They go hand in hand. They need to work together properly. What's more important is that the idea gets executed and seen to the end, and you'll be surprised at what actually comes out at the end of it. And that first idea and the first execution won't be the last. You gotta keep doing it. You gotta keep practicing it. And at some point you'll get something, or you'll find something that actually works. It's something you need to practice. It's something you need to exercise. And ultimately you'll find something that'll work, and we'll see some semblance of success. So that's our episode for today. Our 10 minutes are up. In fact, I'm at 14 minutes, much longer than I thought it would be, which is great. If you have any comments or any questions about that, please leave it in the comment section, so that the channel and this content gets more exposure. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.